after the trigger warning, we stand up? No, after the trigger warning, we
Hello?
reflect.
Can you hear me? Hello? Okay.
Oh, we kept the slide? Okay.
We're waiting for the stream to come on, guys. So, all right. Welcome everyone to our 2024 winter internship. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Christine Milian, and I am the director of the winter internship program.
And I'm Leanna Luna. I'm the assistant director of the internship program.
So I'm hoping with you all being here that you are aware, January 11th, we recognize National Human Trafficking Awareness Day. And this is an incredibly important topic that is near and dear to all of our hearts, one that we've learned about. Myself and Leanna were both interns a few years ago. And we come back each year because we recognize that this is a really important topic. And we are, for those of you who don't know, the internship every year invites a phenomenal group of college undergraduates and now master's students as well to really engage and understand what this topic is, how we can raise awareness about it, and really connect with the community that may not have these conversations. And so today's event will focus on a topic that you all can see on the screen: breaking the stigma, ending victim blaming in the fight against human trafficking. As you all know, sometimes that it's difficult to have conversations, and we hope that today, one thing you can take away is just how can you start those conversations that may be difficult but can truly make a difference.
Before we begin, we want to provide a trigger warning for the content of today's event. We will be discussing the sensitive and distressing topics of human trafficking and victim shaming. The stories and information shared may be triggering for some individuals, as they involve experiences of trauma and exploitation. If you feel that this content may be distressing for you, please take care of your well-being and consider stepping out during certain parts of the presentation. Additionally, support resources will be available after the presentation, and you are encouraged to reach out if you need assistance. Thank you for your understanding, and please prioritize your emotional well-being throughout our discussion today.
Skylar Davis.
Hi, my name is Brianna Rado.
Hi, my name is Diana Gonzalez.
Hi everyone, my name is Chelsea Garzone.
Hello, my name is Catherine Rodriguez.
Tonight's agenda will be the following. Number one, what is human trafficking? We're
discriminate, and it can happen any and everywhere.
Sorry. For domestic servitude, it's a type of a labor when the victim is being expected to work around a person, home, or every day, which can be a 24-hour day. The fifth one is organ removal. It can lead with criminal activities, which it can include with illegal organ or harvesting form living. And then the sixth one is forced begging victims that are forced, defrauded, or pressured into trafficking. The seventh is the child soldiers, a child being associated with a armed force or armed group. And then lastly is forced marriage, where one or both people do not or cannot consent an agreement to a marriage.
So now one of the activities that we have is a duct tape performance organized and performed by our interns. Something that they wanted to really get through to everyone here is that there's multiple ways to understand. You know, we work in, a couple of us work in higher ed. I work at a college, and we understand as visual learners, you know, people that need to read things. So we want to be able to connect with everyone and ensure that anyone and everyone can really understand. You know, recently we were able to go to the traffic jam, and our interns absolutely loved it. So with the coalition, we have all types of programs that can really impact the community, and hopefully this simple performance is one that really makes an impact on you.
I felt like I was in a tight spot, since both my trafficker and the cops were after me. I believed and scared that if I spoke, someone would damage me or worse.
If the cops are after you, then you must have done something wrong.
You put yourself in that tight spot.
Every time my boss left my house, she would take away my passport, lock me up, and leave me in the basement with no electronics. I was so scared that I didn't even know that help was even offered.
Well, if you were really that afraid or that hopeless, why didn't you stand up for yourself? Why didn't you defend yourself?
If it was me, I would let him stop. I would fight back. It sounds like you're making excuses. If it was me, I would have found a way to get help or run away.
At the age of 15, living alone in a large city, I began to look for affection and acceptance, and I wasn't receiving from my parents, and I discovered it online with a 36-year-old man that I was subsequently got to know in person.
Wow, how did her parents let her live alone?
You should have known better. You're telling me there was no boys your age to give your affection to?
For 10 years, I was a victim of human trafficking. My trafficker forced me to pay his phone bill, post ads online, and to get his car fixed. And still to this day, I face hardships for being exploited.
You're a man. Why couldn't you just fight back and leave that life?
What do you mean? You got all the girls. You're telling me you didn't like it?
I thought I was in control. I thought I was making these decisions, and I thought this man wanted what was best for me and wanted to help me. It never crossed my mind that I was being used as bait and having unprotected sex with countless men for his profit.
You thought you were in control, right?
You should have known. It was common sense. You're being ungrateful. He took care of you.
We wanted it first place. What's the issue now?
You did it to yourself.
You know my story and victim shaming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to transition back to the PowerPoint, but I wanted to really take a minute to pause there because the purpose of the duct tape performance, again, we're focusing on victim shaming, right? A lot of us have been, especially with social media, have been yelled at through words that are written and not said. And, people say, words hurt, but when you hear them, it makes a little different of a different impact, right? So easy to be on the internet and type these hurtful comments, and we'll actually go into the further into the presentation and show you some examples of real words that people say online. And I don't want to take your part of the performance, but it goes even beyond human trafficking. So again, we want to make sure that you understand, for those of you in the audience who may be triggered, a lot of the topics can impact people who are victims of domestic violence, of sexual abuse, or other things and other traumas. So this is really something that can impact the larger community.
New Jersey and human trafficking. New Jersey is one of the states that are the most vulnerable to human trafficking because New Jersey is close to many metropolitan cities such as Philadelphia, New York, and Atlantic City. New Jersey also has many major forms of transportation, including airports, major highways, trains, buses, and waterways.
So what does red flags look like in human trafficking? Red, reluctant to speak, exhausted, dominated or controlled. And flags, fearful, long work hours, alienated from friends and family, gifts from older partners, and signs of abuse. Reluctant to speak includes not listening, interrupting, or failing to express your thoughts or feelings. And gift giving can be a form of manipulation if used to influence someone's behavior or decisions in a covert way. It tends to not come from generosity, but from hidden need.
Statistics. I would like first to clarify that these statistics are rough estimates. 11,500 most of the cases of human trafficking are in the US. Those are only about 2019. Most of the cases are unreported. As you can see, $150 billion are mostly spent for human trafficking, and 55% of human trafficking victims are women and children. Also, that includes men and people from the LGBTQ plus community. 25 million people are trafficked worldwide. Human trafficking can affect to anyone and everyone.
So before we transition to our next session, we're going to pause, and we are excited to have someone come up and perform for us. We actually have one of our interns who invited their friend, who is a poet. And if you want to introduce your friend, please do.
My friend is the best poet in the world, and her name is Alyssa Rivers. Here you go. She also attends King University, so yeah.
In support group, you see that you're not alone. You share what you don't remember and someone weeps. It's a man, the first one you've seen cry. Men can cry, period. 0 fingers left.
Moving on to the most important part of our presentation, victim shaming, which is an unfortunate phenomenon that accompanies human trafficking. What is victim shaming? Victim shaming happens when the survivor of a crime or traumatic event is blamed for their experience and their response to the experience. Shaming can impact anyone, whether it's someone's weight, experience of abuse, or stereotypes. It's not only related to human trafficking. Victim shaming takes various forms and affect people in different ways. Below, we have actual screenshots of people shaming victims, just in daily life. In one of the screenshots, it says, "That belt is bigger than the skirt. She is so rich that she couldn't afford a proper dress." And these are just comments people write to regular people. Imagine how much worse comments survivors get from shamers. How does human trafficking and victim shaming relate? Victim shaming and human trafficking blames the individual rather than the traffickers or the root causes. For example, blaming the victim choices. This blame can manifest through statements such as, "Why didn't she leave? She must have chosen to stay in that situation." These perspectives fail to acknowledge that the complex power dynamic and challenges faced by victims. We also have stigmatizing survivors. Survivors face difficulties in coming back to society due to the judgment and discrimination, creating isolation and ongoing trauma. And the widespread stigma makes it harder for survivors to heal, reinforcing a culture of silence that hinders their ability to seek support and understand from their communities.
So, continuing, we have how does human trafficking and victim shaming relate? So we had lack of support services, which is victim shaming contributes to insufficient support for survivors, impacting rebuilding efforts. Then we have misunderstanding curation, which is lack of understanding about traffickers' psychological and physical control. To stop victim shaming, we need to understand trafficking, support victims, raise awareness, and educate people. Thank you.
And so, something very simple that you all can do today, how can you make a difference, is by simply saving the phone number to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. I'm pretty sure you have several numbers in your phone saved that you don't need. Adding one more won't hurt. So please call if you ever have questions, information, or need help, 888-373-7888, or text help or info to be free. And so now, we are going to transition. If you can switch the slide. We're going to set the mood a little bit. So one thing I will say, I'm super proud about this group. Outside of here, I work for the Educational Opportunity Fund, or the EOF program. For those of you who know, it's a higher education program. I'm very biased. I know we are in a college. Best program in higher ed. And most of our interns are members of that program. So we do this thing called the Barbershop Series. And for those of you who are not aware, the idea or concept of the barbershop is that, for those of you who know, a lot of times it's cultural too. We go to a barbershop or a beauty salon, and the environment, the space, the emotion, it's a place where you can just be yourself. You can be comfortable, you can laugh, you can joke, you can ask questions. You know, sometimes it comes off as almost therapeutic, right? Of course, let's also be aware, barbershops, barbers, or beauticians, they're not therapists. They don't, I mean, of course we have one here. But at a barbershop, we're not therapists, they're not professionals, and we want to be honest in that too. Although we've learned about human trafficking, we're not professionals in this topic. We take the time to learn, as you all can too. So please offer us some grace. But we also want to show you what it feels like and what it is to have a genuine conversation. Again, these conversations can be difficult, right? But being honest with yourselves and offering each other the grace and space to have genuine conversations is so important, because without that, we can't have change. So the first step to making a difference is starting the conversation, asking questions, and being able to be in a space where you can feel comfortable to do so. And I'm proud of our interns because in this short space of time, they've only been together for a couple months between the winter internship, and they've done a phenomenal job. And so with their knowledge and their questions that still linger, because there's always going to be questions with this topic, we want to tap in and start our own little barbershop and have a genuine conversation between all of us here. So I'm going to pass it over to Leanna, and I'm going to try to get this microphone on. So give me 1 second.
Hello?
All right, team. So through learning about this topic, what's something that made you mad?
Thank you. Oh, all right. I think I just answered with this one. Definitely the victim blaming and victim shaming. It's so infuriating. Here you go.
I would say for me, the fact that human trafficking is hidden in plain sight and not enough people are speaking about it. That's what made me mad about it.
Honestly, referring back to Brianna, our first homework for this internship was look up comments of like victim shaming, and it was so frustrating just to see like how it was based on celebrities, but how harsh normal people are to celebrities, and how like even if you like don't have the intention of looking bad, they're gonna shame you for every little thing. So it's just so sad to have these people just shame you for something that you've done and be hidden behind like your profile picture. And it's just like sometimes like the profile picture isn't even you, it's just like your other persona. So just seeing that was just like so frustrating to see and so like depressing. It's a harsh world and people are just so harsh.
Something I also noticed is not only celebrities that get victim shaming, normal people, for something or anything they do, someone will always say something. We always criticize, we always say something to make them feel bad. So that's sad to see, like, how people don't stop saying their comments, their positive and contributing comments.
I also want, hello. Oh, I also want, sorry. I also want to add in, and Catherine, when I hear about victim shaming online, it could also affect on their personal life. Like, for example, they could get depression, they can get anxiety, they can get a food disorder that can cause them not to eat, and then they could probably lose their lives. So when it comes to victim shaming online, it could affect to someone's in their personal life, and you never know what's gonna happen to them in their private life.
Yeah. And also what we noticed was like the usernames on these accounts are like, oh, mind your business or something like that. Like those random usernames, and then they'll just victim blame everybody or like throw their negative comments. Like, how about you mind your own business? It was so annoying.
And I also want to just pause for a second on that too, because Brianna made a good point. When we were practicing the duct tape performance, right? And it's a great concept in the idea of, you know, like you all said, people have this energy, right? They're like, oh, we can say whatever we want. But then, like you mentioned, they'll be like, oh, but don't at me though. So it's like, oh, I can say whatever I want. I don't care for you to respond to what I said because I have freedom of speech. You know, the First Amendment, everyone wants to pull that out. Don't know anything about the Bill of Rights, but they can pull that out real quick. But, you know, it's really interesting where you see people do that, right? But then when you all were working on the duct tape performance and actually saying it out loud, obviously, first of all, I want to say these are lovely people. They didn't mean any of the bad words. It was just for the purpose of the presentation. But when they started to say like the negative or like the shaming back to, you know, each other, it hurt. They almost couldn't say it. We had to like tell them, listen, it's okay. Like, we know this is for the purpose of education. But it hurts, right? Because oftentimes you just read it. But we all know, we all have a voice in our little heads, right? We all have a voice in our head. You hear it. So sometimes the voice in our head can be louder than everything else. So you're reading these negative comments, whether it be, oh, something about your weight, something about your clothes. You can be well off and wealthy and living your best life and have a Telfar bag and a Birkin bag, and people are going to be negative. You can be humble and working hard and, saving and thrifting, and people will say, you're so cheap, right? So there's always some sort of negativity to it, right? But how did you all feel? I just wanted to hear from you all too. I know I mentioned it. How did you all feel like saying the words? And did you recognize, and in a way, like, have you ever recognized yourselves like, oh, maybe I've said something to someone that may have hurt?
Just like Christine said, when we were practicing the duct tape performance, like for me personally, it was just like I was so hesitant to say it because I know like they're like fake comments from us, but it's just like so sad that there's gonna be actual people who like go through these type of like traumas and everything. So for someone else to like judge you and just criticize and everything to you is just like, I don't know. It was just hard for me. And and then just thinking back from doing these comments, I also was able to reflect, and I'm not gonna lie, some of the thoughts in my head could be judgmental, but it's just like, because I'm just saying in my head, I feel like it doesn't count, but like actually doing the performance, I'm just like, damn, I could never say any of these things aloud, so why do I think them in the first place? So it just really made me reflect and, try to change as a better person. And it's strange because this internship was only a couple of weeks long, but the things that I've learned with these people is just like life-changing.
So as well, like my whole team, and we were feeling like pretty bad when we tried to come with these comments for the duct tape, because it was pretty hard. Even though it's just a performance, feeling that you have like been told like that probably a couple times, or just saying it or think about it, it hurts. And now you can imagine now, like, how can other people like feel when someone said like those type of comments. I also realized that, as Chelsea mentioned, maybe like we think about it like in our mind, but we don't say it, but it still counts because you thought about it. You thought that comment, you have that in mind. So, and I also seen so many different like classmates even saying something like in their conversations, and it's like, wow. So you really live like among these kind of comments your everyday. So it's nothing that it should be like usual that you can see, or you need to allow for you to happen.
Really quick, sorry. I wanted to mention that we talked about hurt people. So that's like a big thing that I noticed personally, because when we were saying those comments, because the way we did it was we had to read the story and then be like, okay, what would somebody say about this? And it just felt gross coming up with things, because it's like, we know them in the back of our head. Like, these are things that we've seen. So, yeah.
Hello. For the duct tape activity, for me, it was really hard. Like, I couldn't say the word, especially for my part of the 15-year-old meeting with a 36-year-old. And there's stories that girls have been victims, that have been through these type of situations. So for me, saying that, and then hearing the comments, I feel bad, I really do. And when I had to say like the words saying, oh well, like you're a man, you're a man, like go get a job, and like I really felt bad, and then seeing how other people saying those words to others people going through that situation, it's just horrible and it's sad.
Saying those words during the duct tape performance made me feel disgusted because I don't know the other person's story. Why am I commenting these negative things on their story? And to piggyback off of Diana talking about when she mentioned the comments about the man, you know, very life-changing for me because we don't often hear about men going through human trafficking. We often hear about women going through human trafficking. And I think that's a discussion that needs to be spoken about more because there are male survivors out there, and due to the fact that there are negative comments or victim shaming, those men are never going to speak up because, one, they're afraid to be vulnerable, and if they do speak up, there are comments that are going to make them be silent.
So considering the stories that you shared during the duct tape performance, if you or a friend were to experience human trafficking, who would you reach out to for help?
Can you say that one more time, please?
So if you or a friend were to experience human trafficking, who would you reach out to for help?
I would reach out either to my brother or my uncle because I trust them that much to tell them my experience.
I would call my brother too. He's very overprotective, so I feel like I would trust him the most, and my best friends, because I know that they'll do anything to help me.
For me, for me would be my mom. Me and my mom are really close, and she's like a best friend. So, and I do tell her everything, especially what I do in college, who I'm going out, who I'm talking to, because she wants the best for me, and she wants to make sure, you know, I'm safe. And
I will go to my mom as well, and also my older sister. I always talk to them, and I always ask for help, like, to them. So yeah, I would rely on them.
Yeah, I would go to my mom too. She's right there.
And I want to point out one thing. First of all, I love that you all have that community that you can reach out to. And I want to say it's important, right? Who's ever, like, your tribe, right? You have a tribe. Do you all feel like you have, like, that's your tribe, the people that you can relate to, connect to, that you can rely on? Like, a lot of us have friends. And we all know we have different categories of friends. You have the best friend, the associate, the ones you can go to the club with, you know. So there's different types of friends. But then there's your tribe, right? Those are the people that you can rely on, that you know if you need something and you need help, you can reach out to. And it's really sad, right? Because a lot of people don't have a tribe. You know, again, just like even for those of you who are in EOF, like we try to be your tribe for you, right? A lot of the time we don't recognize resources that we have. How many of you, I mean, let's just be honest. Before you were here, how many of you knew about the coalition?
Right? I had no idea. Like, if it wasn't for you, Christine, like offering and like actually explaining what the coalition was and what it did, I would have never known that this type of resource was even offered in the first place. And it's like strange because I work at I intern at this domestic violence center, so it's just like, damn, for this like program in itself to exist besides what I do is like, I don't know. I was just very surprised.
Right? And then you all are in college, so we assume that when you go to college, you know a lot, right? And we know a lot. Shout out to you all for doing great things. But there's so much resources. Like the coalition is very well connected, and there's still like none of you knew about it. I didn't know about it before I joined the internship program, and so it just goes to show you like what you're doing here right now is so powerful because you really don't know who may be listening and who may understand that, you know, oh, this is something I can look into. Something as simple as the number, right, that you can reach out for help. And I want to tap into something else, too, that we spoke about yesterday. We talk about the vulnerabilities of human trafficking, right? Again, any and everyone can be impacted by human trafficking. There's no socioeconomic discrimination. There's no racial discrimination. But we want to be honest in that there's different vulnerabilities, right, that can make someone susceptible or that seem like an easy target, because when you look at traffickers, they are master manipulators, right? They look for someone who they think that they could control. And I want to tap into, I know we talked about bias, right? And resources and the lack thereof. Can you all just touch on a little bit the idea of, like, I know you talked about the hip hop community as well, on that kind of idea.
You want me to mention about the hip hop? So I'm a big hip hop fan. I love all types of rap music, Southern, classic, even the modern day hip hop music. But one thing that made me very reflective this year, especially being in the coalition, a lot of the rap music that I listened to talked about either macking or pimping, and even if it was innocent and as far as just flirting with a girl, a lot of the hip hop vocabulary just talks about pimping and pimping and macking, and I started to question, why is that so? And it made me also reflective, because when I was younger, I would recite these lyrics. I grew up listening to Too Short, E40. I don't know if you guys are familiar with those rappers, but reciting very derogatory lyrics, and I thought it was cool. I'm gonna be honest with you, when I was younger, I thought it was cool. But now I'm being reflective on it, I realized how much those lyrics can impact someone who was a victim. If I may recite these lyrics outside, or even if I'm blasting my music in a car driving down the street, you never know who's listening or watching and how that can impact that person.
So, we also mentioned, okay, you guys gotta help me back and forth, okay?
Yeah.
So we were talking about this show called Baddies, Baddies East, and we were talking about how it's really like glamorizing a lot of things that aren't really realistic, because in a lot of reality TV, like, they don't even have anything that they have on the show. Like, that's not even their car, that's not even their house. Like, and so as a viewer, it makes you want to be in those positions, and so you go and do anything to have that. And realistically, we're never gonna get that, because they don't even get it yet. So, what else did we mention? We talked about.
So I explained how at my job I work with teenagers, so they range from 15 to 18, and Baddies is one of the shows they like to watch every Sunday. They'll watch an episode, and like, I'll be sitting with them, and it's just like the way they glamorize their life. They're like, oh, I want to live like she does. I just want to party. I want to do this and that. And it's just like, damn, like, if this is the way you're like thinking now, like, you're only like 15, 16, 17, 18. It's just very worrying from like an outside perspective, because you want what's best for them, and for these shows to exist and like try to glamorize that life when it's not even real, it's very sad. And it's just like, I worry for them a lot, and for like these shows to continue to exist is just like, wow.
Oh yeah, and we also talked about like who actually owns the networks and who's controlling the narrative. So, and it could like go into a whole loophole you'll never come out of. But like, realistically, we really do have to be careful what we consume, and you have to disattach from things, because while it might be entertaining, it's also not real. And it could, like, honestly change your whole life if you really take it like it is. You know what I mean? Like, what else did we say?
No, I see what you're saying. So like, we talk about like the driving force of human trafficking is money, right? Everything, you know, money is the root of all evil.
Right.
So we talk about watching shows like Baddies East or whatever the case may be, and a lot of the people, like you mentioned, they say, I came from nothing.
Right, yeah.
Right? So they say, I came from nothing, and if it wasn't for X, Y, and Z, this show, I wouldn't be who I am, right? And they talk about like a lot of the times, and this could be true or not, because we're just assuming, we're viewers.
Right. Allegedly.
Right. But they're reading a script too. So they're still, their narrative is being controlled.
Yeah.
We talk about hip hop, right? A lot of them, they talk about like the hood, like these these communities. But when you look at what the hood is, right, this idea of the hood, these are under-resourced communities that people feel like, I have to do what I have to do to survive. So people are enforcing survival tactics, and we're not really, when you talk about like who owns the networks, right? Who are promoting, like you have to be sexualizing yourself and doing music videos and hip hop or pop music or whatever the music is, and glamorizing these things to make money. So that's another thing we mentioned as well.
Yeah, just like the reality TV, some of the rappers do not come from there. So then they rap about things they don't come from. And now it glamorizes, it's like a lot of glamorizing. And we have to always tap in and touch grass and realize that we live a really good life. Even if it doesn't look like that, it's still a pretty good life. So, yeah.
And just to bring it back home, right? Because I know our time is coming close to an end. But how does this connect to human trafficking, right? Going back to that victim shaming. We all have our own, which is a term that I learned and I love to use throughout the coalition, is we all have our own lived experience, right? Where we come from, who our family is. You know, I'm a first generation American, first generation college graduate. Are you, any of you first gen college graduates? Or on the way, first gen college, on the way, pending. So we all have our own story, our journey, right? So it's super important. Again, the first step to understanding and making a difference is having these conversations. Because when we have these conversations and we're aware, when you read posts or you see stories, you start to think about, there's a person behind this, right? Even if they're showing us this glamorous person or whatever they're showing you, we don't know the story behind it, right? So when you're thinking about something or thinking about someone, just be more aware. Just slightly, just that little bit of awareness can really make a difference. Because now, if you see a friend who might be, you know, part of the red flags, exhausted, starting to alienate from you, receiving gifts from someone who's an older partner, starting to associate with someone who you don't, you know, you get bad vibes from, you start to become slightly more aware of your surroundings. And something as simple as that can truly make a difference.
Yeah, we never want to be invalidating to anybody. And also, conversations are meant to be uncomfortable. Like, we're not going to get nowhere. We grow outside of comfort. So,
And that was exactly what you said. That was a perfect way to end, right? As we said, conversations are meant to be difficult at times. You know, we can't stray away from uncomfortable conversations because that's how things get hidden in plain sight. And so, again, we encourage you to have this little dialogue we just had, something that's so simple. This was a genuine conversation. We did not plan this, okay? We wanted it to be authentic.
thank you.
And so, just to close out, we want to say thank you again to, first, our interns for their phenomenal work.
Woo!
And just quickly, and I'm putting you on the spot again, what is one thing that you are taking with you on this journey?
To never be silent and to continue to have conversations.
I would say definitely to spread awareness on red flags. Because honestly, if more people knew the red flags, we could save a whole lot of people. And we could prevent so much. I'm not gonna cry.
What I learned was this experiment is the resources, which I never I never knew there were so many resources from this specific internship and this program, and I could use this in the future or in a situation where when I have a friend who I see red flags, or like Christine said, if I see a friend talking to an older guy or any red flags, I could use this resource that I learned throughout this experiment and help others.
I would take being a person that actually listens to another person. Not to say that I wasn't, but you know, as a social work major, you learn so much, like, of the red flags, vulnerabilities that people face every day. So it's just like being more open to listening to people and just like understanding their story and not being afraid to have these uncomfortable situations, because like everyone said, it's just, you need it so that it could spread awareness. So that.
Something I learned and I take it with me. First, I learned about the coalition. I never heard of it before. I knew about human trafficking, yes. But it's not, as we said before, it's not only women and children, you know. It's also men, it's also, it doesn't apply only women or children. It applies for everyone. And it's something that we always see in, like, in the movies, always women, always young women, always children, but something that we don't see is like, it applies for everyone. Like, no one is safe in that aspect. Also about the red flags, how to notice them, and how can I also help another one, like my friends, other people, my family, either classmates, how to identify those kind of red flags, sorry. And also all the contact number, who to call, who to reach out. Yeah, that's what I take from me.
Yeah, also how big it is. Excuse me. How big it is in Jersey, like that's also something I'm gonna take away, that it blew me away. But yeah.
And of course, we want to thank everyone here in our audience. Can we give them a round of applause? And for those of you watching at home or with your families, again, do not walk away from tonight just leaving it and saying this was a great presentation, because it was great. Please walk away. If you could take one thing with you, remember, start the conversation, whether it be about human trafficking, whether it be about abuse, whether it be about something that's difficult. Have the difficult conversations with the people that you love, because something that I don't want to miss when we say this, if you're not having those conversations, someone else is, whether it is in a good way or a bad way. So we want to make sure you are controlling your own narrative. You have the power to control your story. And with that, I guess that was a good ding dong. Thank you so much, and have a great night.
We just want to say thank you. Yes, if you're returning any material, please do so. We just want to say thank you on behalf of the coalition. I'm Wincy Terry Bryant. I'm the arts director of the New Jersey Coalition Against Human Trafficking. Would you please help me thank Christine and these amazing interns? Thank you so much for what you did tonight. I want to represent Kate Lee and the New Jersey Coalition Against Human Trafficking. She is our executive director, and she's texting me to just say how amazing you guys are and how we are so proud of you. We consider ourselves so fortunate to have a team of young heroes on the front line, speaking peer-to-peer, speaking to adults, speaking to young people. Who better to represent us and let people know what's going on in New Jersey? Thank you so much for the work you're doing. We feel really safe. The website is Safer New Jersey. It's safernj.org, safernj.org. So please join the mailing list so you can find out what they're doing, what else we're doing, and how you can get involved and help. Thank you again so much for what you did. It's amazing, amazing.
We do have a couple of resources in the back to learn more about the coalition, and we also have an activity. It's called Leaving the Shame Behind. Leaving Behind the Shame. So feel free to, if you've ever heard something negative or judgmental towards you, write it on a sticky note and put it on the paper, because you're leaving it behind. We're not carrying that with us. It's a new year, new me. People say it all the time. So bringing positive energy, and we want you to come out just a little bit lighter today. Thank you.